Hello class, this is Charlie and I'm going to be reviewing our class project. During last week, April 15th class, we had a facilitated retrospective which I led the class in to uncover those things which are working well and we want to continue or do more of, and also those things that we'd like to change that could be improved. One of the most highlighted areas was our understanding of the project. The class related that there was some concern over their involvement with the project early on enough so that they could get the maximum value out of the project. I've captured the whiteboards from that session and I have posted them online for your review, but essentially one of the major concerns, as I just mentioned, was the class project, and also in addition to that, the balance of the class between modeling and facilitation, and how important it is for us to have an opportunity to do both, and that there is a critical modeling component and likewise a critical opportunity for us to be hands-on in our facilitation experience. So I'd like to talk about part one if I could. Part one, there's no change as a result of our conversation last week in class. We still have an individual project. That individual project is still the requirements package. You should be analyzing and continuing to work on either your individual custom project or the pet store project, which I've provided a project charter for. I've updated the completed requirements package sample for you to review. This sample requirements package contains actual student work from a prior quarter. I have obfuscated the analyst or student's name on this package, but I thought it was important for you to see this package, for you to see and see firsthand what one of your colleagues in the Business Analysis Certificate course has completed. I thought it was a fine example of what could be accomplished, and more importantly, what was left undone did not detract from the quality of the product itself. What I'm referring to is, since we're utilizing a top-down approach, there could be some concern that we're not going to get far enough, if you will, into the requirements package to have much value. I think you'll see, although there are no detailed requirements, no detailed the system shell statements in this example, there's a high level of information, a high level of quality of information, I should say, and the document is very useful, even though it does not get to the detail that you would see in a fully realized requirements package that would enable development. This would enable a great deal of understanding. So I encourage you, if you are not comfortable with the requirements package, to look at this sample. I've also provided the blank sample, and I would expect at this point that each of us has migrated their list of important things, processes, workflows, etc. into this document. And since we've also all completed the assignment to develop a high level conceptual model, I would expect our requirements package to have this now in place as well. So those two components should be done now in your requirements package, and I'll be checking with each of you next week to make sure that you're making good progress on this. Also, now that we've completed in class the high-level conceptual data model, I would expect us to now be able to proceed and develop our own high-level conceptual data model and to be beginning on the logical data model for our own package, our own requirements package. Now you'll notice from the sample that I've provided that there is not an opportunity for us to exhaustively document every single aspect of our project, but I do want to see a representative sample of the logical processes and workflows and data models and timing sequences, etc., that would show a representative sample of the type of modeling work that you would develop for your project. So if that's clear, we want to provide at least one or more models in these areas, and when we get to each individual area in our coursework, I'll go into more detail about what would be acceptable to put into your requirements package. So this is going to continue to evolve, and I'll help you each step of the way. So please have your requirements package initiated at this time, and you should have plenty of content to begin that initiation. Now, the second part of our project work or end product work for this class is what we've defined as a in-class facilitation and modeling event. Now for this event, each student is required to join a group, and I believe we've already have structured some groups with each other, and those groups, if they're changing, just please let me know. But as of next week when we meet, I'll ask us to finalize those groups so that there'll be no further changes. I don't think that'll be a problem. What we've decided to do is to have a mock facilitation session, and it'll be structured as follows. I am going to provide a single business project scenario, and I'm going to provide enough information so that each team, should they choose to be the data team, process team, decision team, the timing team, workflow team, or network team, or if they would like to have one or more teams involved with data or process or decisions, etc., that would be okay too. But the idea is I will provide enough content for you. Now let me go into a little bit more detail about what the teams may cover. So each team may cover only one dimension. So that is, I do not want one team to try to do data and process and workflow, etc. I only want them to focus on one, whether it's decisions or whether it's process or data or workflow or network or timing. I want you to concentrate only on one dimension. However, more than one team may choose a given dimension. I think this would be fine if we had as many as 2 teams on an individual dimension, but I would like to limit it to only 2 teams. I do not want to see more than 2 teams, I should say, involved with process. If we had 3 teams involved with process, I think we would be focusing far too much there. But I do understand how we might have 2 teams wishing to uncover more in process, and that would be fine. So if we could agree on that, I think that would be most useful for everyone. The teams will focus on facilitating the capture of knowledge by utilizing a top-down approach. And this is exactly what we've been experiencing in class. We are starting at the top. So you'll notice if you attended last week's class that we had performed a conceptual data model in class. And we started in our week from prior classes by just having a list of important things. That's at the very top. Then we were able to develop a conceptual data model. That's the next step down. Then the next step down would be to take more detailed granular approach of understanding the logical data model. Now that being said, we are only going to have a limited amount of time for this class to do this in-class facilitation. It's going to be limited to 30 minutes, not a lot of time, but enough time for each person in the group to gain some hands-on experience of what it is like to facilitate and what it is like to build understanding. And I will rely on the group to manage their time and to utilize as much of the modeling techniques and as much of the facilitation techniques as possible to improve the quality of what it is that they do deliver in that limited amount of time. So, to give you a little bit more background on what this session is going to feel like, myself and a colleague of mine are going to act as subject matter experts, and we will have detailed information at our disposal to provide you with feedback as you facilitate us. We'll even include an opportunity to settle a divergent point of view for each area of analysis. And as I mentioned before, each group will be limited to 30 minutes of facilitation. And in that time, what's important to know is that we need to get from the conceptual level, in other words, the highest level, to at least a logical level, where we're beginning to understand the decisions or logical structure underneath the conceptual level. So we need to get down to level 2, if you will, of understanding not just timing at a high level of a calendar, for example, but actually in what sequence the timing must occur for certain events to happen in relationship to other events. Or not just the highest level network, but to actually understand how the network information is related to each other, and so on, so that for workflow we understand that there is a sub-level of work that is going on as well as the highest level of work. A sub-organization within the overall organization is identified, and how that individual department level works with the overall organizational level. So on for the process, so that the overall process is expressed, and some sub-processes that support the main process or the overall process are explored, etc. As this continues on with data or with decision as well. We're going to talk more about what our objective is here, but I think it's clear that we want to get down below the highest level of understanding, down to another level of detail, a second level of detail. Now, the idea is that we'll be utilizing a lot of the modeling skills that we've learned earlier in the class. Some students might be concerned because this is their first quarter with the class, and they'll be receiving consideration for their expertise in handling modeling. But I don't think that's going to be a particular problem with this class. Now, the student deliverables. Each class will select an area for facilitation, or will have one assigned to them. If you cannot settle on the area that you're going to facilitate, then I'm going to do that for you. That's what that means. This selection must be settled by week 7, May 13th of the class. In other words, I'm going to ask one representative of your group to tell me which area you're going to facilitate. Okay? And you're going to commit to it. Each group must develop an agenda, or the 5 Ps, an opening, the IEEI, and they must express some type A and type B questions, and a closing. These are the fundamental components of facilitation that I would like to see represented in our work. Each team should divide this work and deliver each of these components in writing. So this is what I mean. I would like to have an agenda drafted from 5 Ps in writing. I would like to see your opening, your IEEI, in writing delivered. I'd like to see an example of a type A and type B question, and I'd like to have some understanding of how you'd like to close the session. These components will ensure that we are prepared to do a good job when the facilitation evening arrives. And I expect this work to be done and delivered on May 20th. On week 9, May 27th, the group will take turns for 30 minutes facilitating and modeling. Each group will utilize their agenda and their opening and closing and of course their questions from week 8. This will occur again on week 9, May 27th. I would like each group to capture their work product from this facilitation. That means the models that they develop and the notes, the meeting minutes from their facilitation, I would like to have captured. So the meeting minutes along with the models I expect to have captured and provided to me so that I have a physical representation of your work. This work product is due week 10 or June 10th. On week 10, we're going to share our individual packages just at a high level, just not a PowerPoint presentation, just a around the room discussion of what we did, what we learned, and what our work product ended up looking like. I will facilitate this by bringing our work up onto the projector in class. There's no need to bring anything physically to class. If you could please, though, you must have your individual package turned in prior to week 10. So when we show up on June 10th, I must have your requirements package completed to the degree that you've completed it, and I must be able to have that Word document available to me in electronic format so that I can share our work with the class. Now, the good news is we're going to have a celebration event directly after class at a location within walking distance to the class, and you're all invited to join me in just a few minutes, perhaps having a bite to eat and perhaps a toast for all the hard work that you've all participated in this course. So that really concludes the overview of the class project. I hope that you're in a much better spot now on this project at this point, and I hope that we can move forward and continue to do the good work that we've been doing, and that we will continue to share any concerns or questions that we have either in class directly or in email or in any discussion that you'd care to have directly via Canvas. So thank you very much for your time. I know this was a lengthy video, but I wanted to take the time to exhaustively review what the class project is and what's expected. Thank you very much.